Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. Great idea.
Okay.
Someone else? Cindy?
Can I just add, this is an idea I've heard too, is on your phone, in your contacts, type in ICE in case of emergency, and put the name of the folks that you want there. So a lot of folks know that that's a kind of a trick.
Cindy's also head of HR, so if you want to do an employment pitch, because we may have
Sure.
family or friends or children moving to the island, would you like to just...
Absolutely. So I am your HR leader at WhidbeyHealth, and we are always looking for good folks to join our team. We have hired about over 200 folks from off-island in 2016, and we have brought some wonderful folks here. And so, but we do have openings. We have some entry-level clinical openings like phlebotomy and medical assistance. So if you know somebody that is interested in healthcare, a little younger, and wants to get into healthcare, we can hook them up with some schools and certificate programs and trainee programs that we have. Also, if you have relatives that don't live on Whidbey Island but you'd like them to, you can tell them that we have great openings in physical therapy, in nursing, in the laboratory, in several other departments, whether it's clinical or even administrative and financial type things, accounting type things and things like that. So our website always has our most current positions on it. I update it every single day. We have 2 full-time recruiters and an onboarding person, and we want to take care of you and make sure, and those folks that are looking for work. So we're glad to have those applications and talk to folks. So thanks.
Well, I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you to all. Yes, ma'am.
And real quick, I wanted to wait. I have to read some of these because but my printer failed on me, so I couldn't do it anymore. But I did have a couple questions that were given to me to ask people that couldn't make it here for transportation, for whatever reasons.
Okay, sure.
They couldn't be here for it. First of all, mine, talking about the care, about doing the paperwork. I love that idea. Does that also I'm gathering like something like do not resuscitate? Is that on that case? Or
That's the pulse form.
that's on the pulse. Yeah.
But typically, it's part of any type of advanced care planning. 5 Wishes to Conversation project. These are my goals. This is what would not be tolerable to me. So when you come to Dr. Pereira in the emergency room, he's looking for something very specific. The pulse form has 3 or 4 spaces that are quick and direct. If things evolve, then you're getting into more in-depth of what somebody's goals and what your plan may be, and that's where all of that information comes into play.
Can I add something to what Jerry had to say there? Is when you look at do not resuscitate, it's not as simple as one order, because you may want one thing but not another. And what I mean by that is you may want the machine to temporarily breathe for you, but you may not want some big palooka like me pounding on your chest to try and get your heart started. So you may want one and not the other. So it's not quite as simple. Don't get me wrong, the form is actually quite simple, but what's going to ask you is 4 separate questions, and it's really what you want, and to be clear on that. So when you just fill this thing out, it's not just one little form, DNR, yes, no. We wish it was that easy.
That's why the pulse form is part, but not the end-all, be-all of your advanced care planning. It answers the first question, the immediate. If somebody's heart quits, they quit breathing because they're 90 years old and everything has worn out and they have a bunch of other diseases, and we don't want to do that to them. On the other hand, it may be somebody who's 90 and healthy, or somebody much younger, and something has happened to them where you would want to do some of those things, but you might then not want to do some other things depending on what their prognosis is. And if you have a written guideline or some directives from them, it's a lot easier to have that conversation with their loved ones.
Exactly. Well, I just know because my father, he passed away at home, and when the paramedics, emergency care got there, he had already passed. He was gone. But it was this was in Louisiana, and it was mandatory there for when the responders got to the site to start CPR. And
Which is
so
traumatic to everyone concerned when it's really not appropriate and not what the patient wanted. That's what the pulse form is intended to prevent.
Perfect. 'Cause I know my mother, you talk about PTSD, my mother had a horrible time in the hospital for about a day and a half, almost 2 days. trying to get somebody who was authorized to pull the plug, and my mother went through a horrible time with that, you know, so that, I appreciate that very much. Now we'll get to the stuff here. Well, a couple other questions. What is the hospital doing to support mental health services in Island County? Which would also fall under for recovery services. We have a huge heroin epidemic here on the island. And I know that for the Narcon and all that other stuff, but there's a lot of recovery services and for that, as well as for all mental health.
So the hospital is participating in an island-wide task force that's looking at this right now, and there's a variety of organizations. It really takes a village to look at these types of issues. On the hospital side, we have just recently signed a contract for telepsychiatry. So our physicians in the emergency department, when they're working with complex psychiatric disorders, will be able to use consultation with telepsychiatry. Became effective in January of 17 to use telemedicine in the state of Washington. And we have a pilot project going in one of our outpatient clinics to provide telepsychiatry in an outpatient clinic. And once we work out all the kinks in that, all the process kinks, then we'll spread it throughout our clinics.
Fantastic, thank you.
We're excited about that.
And then one of the other ones, what is the hospital doing to retain doctors, surgeons, and mid-levels? Kimberly Ferguson and Jimmy Wynn both resigned the hospital to join North Island Urgent Care, staying in the community but choosing to discontinue their employment with the hospital. Leah Oman, surgeon, went to Anacortes. Mike Picco, orthopedic surgeon, went to Skagit Regional. How much revenue do they draw away from the hospital when their patients switch clinics? What is the cost of recruiting and replacing providers? What is the cost of locum tenens coverage in the absence of permanent employees? Have you analyzed where the hospital loses providers to the competition? Are exit interviews conducted, and are they made public or available to the public? What questions are you taking to increase retention? And I'll just keep reading. We don't have to stop at all of them. But for the X-ray department, once the hospital has the order, why can't I call and schedule? We always have to wait for someone to call us. Is this patient first policy or a money first policy? I don't have to wait for a call back from Island Hospital if I need imaging. And the next one is, what is the hospital's role in the event that Affordable Care Act leaves many people that may leave many people in the county uninsured? Will those who lose coverage continue to receive primary and specialty care through public hospital? I will leave it at that.
Okay, now take a breath. I'm going to work my way back.
Okay.
So this hospital being a public community hospital, anyone who comes to the emergency room never gets denied services. You're never asked what your insurance coverage is until you're evaluated and you're cared for. So that will not change whether the Accountable Care Act changes or not. There's a law out there called EMTALA. EMTALA protects the consumer from having full access to care, so that will not change. In terms of what the hospital's trying to do about that, I can just tell you that I and myself and several CEOs from around the region met with Representative Rick Larson just yesterday, getting our stories and our wishes out to him so when he goes back to DC, he can better represent the needs of our communities. And I work locally with Barbara Bailey and with Norma Smith and other people trying to protect local issues. As far as radiology goes, let me see if I can work this backwards, we have some processes in place that are in our control and some that are not in our control. So the ones that are not in our control have to do with our payers, who say you must get an authorization prior to seeing that patient. If you come in and see us and your insurance hasn't authorized it, we'll treat you. But if your insurance won't pay for it, then you get the bill. So by us actually slowing the process down a little bit and validating that your insurance will pay for it, gives us the ability to inform you, you're going for this expensive MRI, but you need to know it's going to be an out-of-pocket cost. You still want to have it done. It's just an approach that we've chosen, that we don't want you to be surprised at the end when you get a bill that all of a sudden it's not, I thought my insurance was going to pay for it. As far as physicians go, you can speak to the physicians on the island, but the day and age, my generation, where people took a job like my mother who worked for an employer for 37 years, or my father-in-law who was with IBM for almost 40 years, that doesn't happen anymore. Life does not come in these large segments. We're very, very fortunate that we do have some physicians like Dr. Sanders, who has been here for a lifetime career. But whether it's healthcare or any other type of business right now, people are much more transient, and our goal is to make them want to be here for a lifetime, but sometimes their life circumstances, people leave for different reasons. They leave for personal needs, they leave because they have to go take care of an ailing parent, they leave because they like it here, but their spouse wants to be closer to Nordstrom's. And these are all reasons. That unfortunately our goal is to recruit and retain the best physicians we possibly can for the longest period, because it is extremely expensive to recruit physicians. It's extremely expensive to recruit medical assistants or phlebotomists. I mean, our goal is to reduce waste, and to me, every time someone comes and we don't retain them, that's a form of wasted dollar for the community. So we would love to say to people, come here for a lifetime. Dr. Hassafis is here, his wife's a physician here, his daughter's in school here. He's got this big old dog you'll see walking around the community here. We hope he's here for a lifetime. But someday his daughter may marry somebody that lives in Istanbul, and they may decide they want to go closer to their grandchildren.
I'm not hoping Istanbul.
Okay, maybe just
The last place you want to be is Greek.
Sorry.
We'll have a talk.
I said the wrong thing to a Greek, I'm sorry. It's not politically correct. So, would the doctors like to comment on that?
I've
Dr.
commented on
Johnson?
I've commented on previous meetings, and one of the issues here, and for everyone who lives on Whidbey, you will immediately understand what I'm about to say. If you just get out of residency, you're single, you're 30. You've had your nose in the book for 30 plus years. Hey, I'm going to go out, I'm finally going to make some money, I'm going to have the life I wanted. Where's the nightlife on Whidbey? At 8 o'clock, if you want to eat, you're pretty much driving to Oak Harbor. Let's be blunt about it, okay? Where are you going to go out and do that? You're not. So the young ones, as I keep saying, aren't going to come to the island. If they are, they're going to come quickly and leave. The people who stay are the people who have a family. Have a family. My younger partner has a family. She just had a baby. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to be for that. If you want nightlife, guys, I love Whidbey. I'm a transplant. I love Whidbey, but I wouldn't describe Whidbey as a hot place for nightlife. Okay? Now, is it beautiful? Absolutely. But if you're 30, 35, single, looking to date, looking to go out, I would not tout Whidbey as the #1 choice. There's a lot of other places you can go, and this wouldn't necessarily be it. The second thing is, honestly, right now, from a doctor's market, there's too few of us. There really is too few of us. There isn't a day or a week that doesn't pass that I get an offer to move to Wyoming or to Montana or to California or anywhere else. It happens almost every day. Connie, my wonderful office manager over there, finds those things and rips them up before I can see them. Okay? But it happens that way. Okay? So, but that's the way it works. So when you get these people, how do you keep someone? Well, they're constantly trying to lure you away with more money, or it's prettier, and which it isn't. But there's stuff like that that happens.
For us, one of the best ways to retain our physicians is for all of you to use them and support their practices. Because if we have practices that are underutilized, they don't get to use the skills that they train so heavily to have.
Could I point out the context? You mentioned a couple of the people, especially the one that my ears perked up was Mike Pico. I would have loved for Mike Pico to still be on the island. He's a great orthopedic surgeon. I would have loved to have him as a colleague. There are things that happened before Jerry and her team were on board, and had to do with the administration, and also had to do with the reason why the administration changed, because a lot of those physicians had become unhappy with the way they were being treated. So give credit to the fact that there is a new administration and give them the chance to work, because they are making big strides. I think, Cindy, what did you say, 200 people in 2016? Out of an organization of 700 people, that's a pretty significant percentage of new people. We also live on an island that has a very transient Navy population. We get some spectacular people from the Navy. Somebody's wife, a pilot's wife, is an ICU nurse, and she's going to be stationed here for 3 years. We know we're not going to keep her, but she's just a joy to have come into our operation. So There are a lot of those things that are at play as well.
Thank you.
You wanna comment? You good?
Well, there was comments about the locums, and we do have a lot of locums, but there's a minimum level of care that we have to maintain, and so sometimes you have to patch the holes with those locums until you can find a permanent hire, and you want to get the right permanent hire, so we're not just gonna take anybody that comes along. So those people might come as a locum, and we like them, and then we'll try to convince them to stay as a permanent hire. That could be a nurse, a surgical tech, a surgeon, whoever. So while we're looking for that perfect fit, someone who's going to like the island, that's going to be able to provide the kind of care that we want, and is a good surgeon or whatever, we're going to have to find locums to fill that void, because John can't be on call 30 days a month, 12 months a year. So we've had some very good locum surgeons here, but they didn't want to stay. And so sometimes we'll get surgeons that just aren't a good fit. So it just takes time, and it's a building process. And so you just have to be patient with that building process, and we have to bear the burden of the cost of that building process.
So while we're competing for physicians, we're competing against every hospital in the country that's having the same problem right now. And as much as we as administration can try to provide the support and the right equipment and the right systems and structures, the real thing to retain doctors on your island is to use them. And to use the resources that are great. You have awesome physicians here, and share that word with others.
It's a professional choice too that did not exist when I came out of residency, and there are people now who are making their profession being a locums. They have no intention really of settling down. They like going someplace for 4 months or 6 months and moving on. And they plan on doing that for a long time.
They go to Hawaii to surf, and they go to Vail to ski.
To even dovetail onto that, there are names now that weren't even around when I was going through residency. You were a primary care physician. You're an MD. You're an MD. Now they've got nocturnists. These are doctors that only work at night. Okay, seriously? Hospitalists, they only work in the hospital. I'm like, these words were unheard of.
Yeah.
15 years ago?
They have boutique internists
Yeah.
who only see patients that pay cash on the barrelhead, and they will come to your house or apartment and do all your medical care in your home, but it'll cost you an arm and a leg, and they don't take insurance.
It's a changing world.
An important thing for the temporary people that the community can help with is to provide good housing for them. That's an issue on Whidbey now. And so anybody in the community that has a house or a good rental available, please let Jerry or Cindy know about that, because these people want to be here, but if we can provide some housing for them, that takes care of one of their major concerns.
It's true.
Well, I thank everyone for your time. Please take a moment and look at some of the brochures that Keith was kind enough to bring. There's some goodies here if you have a moment that you'd like to snack, and if you want to spend a few minutes one-on-one. For those of you that don't like to speak in a crowd, I'm sure a few of us will be remaining and here to speak with you if you choose that. So thank you. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
I wanted to give you two guys
Just do this paper and it shows price.